Hello, coders. So, looking over the submitted assignments for creating a function, it looks like several of you are struggling with the concept of a function. So I thought I'd do a very simple example on how to do a function. So the first thing I want to emphasize is the purpose of a function. It's important to understand why we use functions at all. So the reason is very simple. A function, the primary purpose of a function is so that we don't have to reuse code. So it's for efficiency. If you ever find yourself writing the same code over and over again, you're probably writing inefficient code and should be done in a function. So having said that, let's get started. I'm going to take one of the examples from the book, which is a really simple one to create a salutation and add your first name and last name and output it. And then, of course, have 3 examples of that. So we're going to do that. This is one way you could do it. Of course, this isn't the only way, but this is the cleanest way that I can think of. So we're going to do that. So the very first thing I like to do is I like to put a line of code, a couple lines of code that go towards the bottom of your code, and let me put it down first, and then I'll explain what they are. Okay, so these couple lines of code here, the if underscore name underscore equal, and then the string main followed by function main. What that tells the compiler is that, especially if you have multiple pieces of multiple functions, it tells the compiler where the entry point to the code is, or the entry point to the script. So here it's saying the entry point is going to be main, and that way you can have several functions. Okay, so the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my main function. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to say main, and this is where I'm going to call things. This is where I'm going to make things happen. And so here I'm going to go ahead and declare a couple of variables. I'm going to declare first name, and let's assign that to me. That's me, Bobby. And let's declare and initialize a second variable called lname, and that's going to be my last name. Actually, hit a different key. Let's fix that with it. And there you go. Now, what we need to do before we go too far is let's go ahead and let's create the return. All functions should have a return, remember that. And the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and create our hello function, the salutation function. So let's go ahead and do that. And remember, all functions in Python start with the identifier def. So here we're going to call it, I'm going to call mine hello underscore. Writing function is kind of redundant, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to call it hello. And I'm going to pass it 2 arguments. The first argument is going to be fname, and the second argument is going to be lname. So that means that this function must take 2 arguments. Whenever we call it, we have to pass it 2 arguments. Okay. So the next thing is I'm going to go ahead and format my output, and a lot of people like to put all their concatenations and processes in the return. I don't think that's very clean. I don't like doing that. So I'm going to do mine separately. And I'm going to do the output right here. So output's going to equal, and I'm going to write my salutation as hi. I'm going to go ahead and do a space here. And then I'm going to concatenate. The way you concatenate is you just use the plus symbol. So we're going to concatenate this with first name, which was passed in the argument. And then I'm going to concatenate another empty string. And you can tell the empty string because of the blank between the 2 quotations. And then I'm going to use the plus symbol again for a third concatenation. And this time, clearly I'm going to concatenate lname. Okay, so that's done. So at this point, the process that this function is going to perform is complete. Now all we need to do is create the return. So we're going to return, what are we going to return? We're going to return the output, right? Okay. So now the function hello is completed. It's going to take 2 arguments, first name, last name, It's going to process these two arguments, and we're going to call what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate those into a string called output. Output is going to equal hi, concatenation with first name, concatenation with an empty string, concatenation with last name, and then finally the return is going to return the output. That's it. Should be clean and good to go. Now let's go back to our main, because from main is where we're going to call the hello function. Okay, so in main we have first name and last name, and now we're going to print. So let's go ahead and print. Remember, print in Python, all it means is that it's going to print to the console. Okay, so here we're going to call hello, and we have to pass it the two arguments, right? So first name and last name, because that function takes two arguments. Okay, and we need to remember the second parentheses. Okay, so now that's done. At this point, we can test this for one name. So we'll just hit F5 and save and run. And yes, let's do that. So I'm just going to click function example. And let's just save that. That's fine. Okay, so I tried to run this and it failed, and the reason is I put this comma here, which was just I wasn't supposed to do. So let's get rid of that. Gone. Okay, so now let's try and run this again. Okay, and so we have our output, and here you go. It says hi Bobby Chapa. It's exactly formatted right, and we have our concatenations, and the sentence looks good. Okay, so now if we just needed to output one name, then writing this as a function would make no sense. So the purpose of this assignment was to demonstrate how we can write a function and use it efficiently, so that way we don't have to continue rewriting code. All right, so having done it here, let's do another one. So right here, we'll say we're going to do this again. So to save time, this is how I would do it. I'm just going to do Control-C. I like cut and paste. And actually should have done this one part here too, so let's do that again. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do all of this one more time so we can pass it 3 times. All right. Okay, so here let's just make up some new names. Otherwise it would print this 3 times. And here we'll just say so, and we'll say leaf looks good. Here we'll put Jen, and here we'll put. Okay, so now we have 3 names, and we're going to call the function one time each, and it should do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this again, and here you go. We have our output, and as you can see, it output all the names. So again, the purpose of the function is efficiency, so we don't have to rewrite code. Here we're passing it 3 different names, and we call the function 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and all this code here in the function happens the 3 different times that it's called. It's taking in the 2 arguments. It's doing the concatenation and then outputting, and then here we have our 3 outputs correctly. All right, so I hope that that helped with your understanding of what a function is and how to use one. So happy coding.